As you all know, for decades, a group of DC-based journalists, the White House Correspondents Association, has long dictated which journalists get to ask questions of the President of the United States in these most intimate spaces. Not anymore. I am proud to announce that we are going to give the power back to the people who read your papers, who watch your television shows, and who listen to your radio stations. Moving forward, the White House press pool will be determined by the White House press team. Legacy outlets who have participated in the press pool for decades will still be allowed to join, fear not, but we will also be offering the privilege to well-deserving outlets who have never been allowed to share in this awesome responsibility. Just like we added a new media seat in this briefing room, legacy media outlets who have been here for years will still participate in the pool, but new voices are going to be welcomed in as well. As part of these changes, we will continue the rotation amongst the 5 major television networks to ensure the President's remarks are heard far and wide around this world. We will add additional streaming services which reach different audiences than traditional cable and broadcast. This is the ever-changing landscape of the media in the United States today.
So another day, another problem from the corporate press. So corporate press just have another victory. Not a victory, another loss in their books. You know, media has been losing ever since Donald Trump won his first election. Caroline Levitt slams New York Times reporter who compares Trump's White House to Putin's Kremlin because they criticize the fact that she stripped the White House Correspondent Association of its power to determine which reporters were in the press pool. And that's what I'm talking about. The left have this ability, right? And I think it's because they love power so much. They love to control things so much, right? I call the Democratic Party and I call liberals control freaks. Liberals believe you have every right to be a liberal and nothing else. That's how they're very passive in that way. Very passive aggressive kind of political ideology. They take control of these institutions. They like to be the filters. And anything they don't like, they make it hard to make it past the filter. And I think that's something that the Trump White House has found out. And as you saw from the intro, she announced this. Here's the clip that I pulled it from. And here's one detractor. I don't know who she is. She's a senior White House correspondent, right? This move does not give power back to the people. It gives power to the White House. The WHCA is democratically elected by the full-time White House press corps. Democratically elected by a small group of people. The presidency, which is the entire country votes for this team, this institution, right? You're saying that this doesn't give power back to the people, but a cabal of a small group of people democratically elected these people. Like, make it make sense. The WHCA has demonstrated pools for decades because only representatives from art outlets can determine resources all those outlets have, such as staffing, in order to get the president's message out to a large audience, no matter the day or hour. People find this rich, right? And this is one of the reasons why the cabal here is hilarious, right? I'm old enough to remember when the Biden White House revoked 442 reporters' press credentials, and the WHCA responded with an officially non-committal stance, right? This is what I'm talking about. This is the party of bureaucracy. This is the Democratic Party for you, right? Biden do something, hey, we're not going to say anything. This time, however, few reporters are standing up in opposition to the new rule. Even the White House Correspondents Association has taken an unofficial, non-committal stance, according to the Washington Post. During the Trump administration, the White House clashed with the reporters over media access. CNN reporter Jim Acosta, Playboy correspondent Brian Karam were booted, although each took their case to the court and eventually won reinstatement. Okay. Right? But now they get stripped of their little bureaucratic, and this is what I'm talking about. All they care about is power and control. That's all they care about. The White House secretary torched the New York Times reporter Peter Baker on Tuesday evening for whining about the White House control over who is in the press pool of reporters who follow the president and gets to ask him questions. Having served as Moscow's correspondent in the early days of Putin's regime, this reminds me of how the Kremlin took over its own press pool and made sure that only compliant journalists were given access. But Biden did the same thing, right? You can make the argument Biden did the same thing, but there was no outcry from New York Times. Okay. He claims that the White House removing Associated Press from the briefing room for not accurately reporting the name of Gulf of Mexico was a sign that it could kick out any news organization in its administration. Does not even like if the administration does not like their questions or stories. Every president of both parties going back generations subscribe to the principle that a president doesn't pick the press corps. That is allowed in the room to ask questions. Baker claimed. Trump has declared that his will. Levette fired back on X, giving me a break, Peter. Moments after you tweeted this, the president invited journalists into the Oval Office, took questions for nearly an hour, she wrote. Your hysterical reaction to our long overdue and much needed change to an outdated organization is precisely why we made it. Gone are the days where left-wing stenographers posing as journalists, such as yourself, dictates what gets to be asked, she added. And this is how many Americans are seeing it. For instance, the AP try to challenge Trump in court for the fact that they don't want to claim Gulf of Mexico. And Donald Trump essentially rubbed it in their face. But I digress. Let's look into the story a little bit. Trump took a victory lap on Tuesday after a federal judge in Washington rejected the Associated Press request to temporarily restore its White House access after Trump banned the outlet for continuing to use the incorrect term Gulf of Mexico in its reports. Right? We're going to be now calling those shots. Trump said, sitting behind the Resolute desk. As you know, we won the lawsuit right there. See, the Gulf of America, which is a beautiful name, most will agree, and it's more inclusive. North America, South America, Gulf of Mexico. Mexico doesn't incorporate that whole Gulf. It's America, North America, and South America. So Gulf of America seems more accurate to me, but I digress. Let's look at this clip of Joe Biden kicking out the media, right? Because the media, they want to talk about, the president can't decide who gets to ask some questions, and they're making all this fake outrage. But look at this clip here from Joe Biden. So these news outlets, these leftist news outlets, they get mad when the White House, Trump's White House, opened the seats to podcasters, content creators that do political content to ask questions directly from people who are more in touch and more in line with the common American in this country. News outlets, the real reason they're mad is that, one, these people are losing their power and control, right? This is one of the main parts. Like people like this lady here. This doesn't give power back to the people. The WHCA is not democratically elected. It's democratically appointed by full-time White House press corporations. That's how I see it. That's honestly how I see it. Because more people are tuning into online. They get more of their news from online than they do from the news outlets. But these news outlets still feel like they're justified to keep their power. The exact same time AP has taken the Trump administration to court, never said a word about Joe Biden's staff that physically pushed the press out of the room so Biden wouldn't answer any questions for 4 years. And this is where Levette's point about, hey, you're mad and you're mad, but the president answers your questions for hours, which wasn't done in the Biden administration. I forgot, there was a crazy story or a crazy data point where Trump spoke more in a week than Biden did his first month in office. Make that make sense. That shows you how limited access that the press corps had to the president. But they want to sit here feign out, Trump is Putin. Putin's Kremlin. This reminds me of Putin's Kremlin. But Trump took more interviews. He spoke to the press more in 1 week than Biden did not his entire term, not yet, but more than Joe Biden's first month in office. Make that make sense, press corps. But you're complaining about censorship. You're complaining about, restricting the press. Trump is moving journalists that he don't like. He's arguing with you damn near every day. But I digress.
We're going to be now calling those shots. As you know, we won that lawsuit right there. See the Gulf of America, which is a beautiful name. Most people agree. I don't know. It's, AP has been terrible. I think they're radical left. I think they're third-rate reporters. I know the specific young lady that works on the account is terrible. She's a radical left lunatic, as far as I'm concerned. They don't treat us fairly. That's number one. And number two, they had no right to do that. This is the Gulf of America. We're going to be.
Hey, look, if he has jurisdiction to rename it, you have to respect the name. And this is what I'm saying. Many people see what the AP is doing as nothing more than petty. Some people are even giving the Associated Press the nickname Associated Propaganda. Like, this is how many people see it. And the fact that they keep throwing tantrums and all this, like, it's so ridiculous to me, right? And I think this clip here will synonymize kind of the thoughts that the Trump White House press corps is seeing, how the Associated Press throwing this tantrum, trying to take Trump to the court, then lose, humiliating. Like, it's within his purview to do these things.
As you all know, for decades, a group of DC-based journalists, the White House Correspondents Association, has long dictated which journalists get to ask questions of the President of the United States in these most intimate spaces.
Yes, a district, 93% of them voted for Kamala Harris. So you don't think a political bias will come into play when they revoke press? Like, the same argument they make about Donald Trump doing it, they already done it for decades. Because Washington, it don't stop being a Democratic run establishment, no matter if a Republican president get in or Democrat president get in. The only difference is when a Democrat get in, they're more willing to work around them, help them. But when a Republican get in, they get in their way of their governance. They leak information to the press, right? They make it harder for the Republicans to do their job. And this is why they always put out this narrative, oh, Democrats know how to govern better. No, they get less obstruction to their governance compared to when Republicans get in there. And now that Donald Trump's coming in, he said, let me clean house because these people are abusing their power. Now they're crying.
Not anymore. I am proud to announce that we are going to give the power back to the people who read your papers, who watch your television shows, and who listen to your radio stations. Moving forward, the White House press pool will be determined by the White House press team. Legacy outlets who have participated in the press pool for decades will still be allowed to join, fear not, but we will also be offering the privilege to well-deserving outlets who have never been allowed to share in this awesome responsibility.
Yes, keeping the cabal going, like these same news organizations, these same group of people. When we have an ever-changing news information network, most people get their news from online now. Especially the younger you go, the more likely the person is to get their news online than on the television. Yet we're still going with the same old. And this is what you're talking about. America wants to go in a different direction. And it seems like Trump's administration is the only one that's willing to go to do the work necessary to lay the groundwork for the new generation to come in and actually be direct to power. And then people wonder why many people feel like the government is run by a gerontocracy or the old and brittle, the old guards of our society are defending these institutions, are keeping the younger generation out because they keep holding on to these institutions where they have influence and power. Or, quite frankly, the older generation only respects TV news outlets. They don't really trust or respect online news outlets. But the times have changed. The internet has won. The online world has won. Hey, we're the new distribution of knowledge and information now. We deserve a seat at a table, right? But I digress.
Amongst the 5 major television networks to ensure the president's remarks are heard far and wide around this world. We will add additional streaming services which reach different audiences than traditional cable and broadcast. This is the ever-changing landscape of the media in the United States today. We will continue to rotate a print pooler who has the great responsibility of quickly transcribing the president's remarks and disseminating them to the rest of the world. And we will add outlets to the print pool rotation who have long been denied the privilege to partake in this experience but are committed to covering this White House beat. We will continue to rotate a radio pooler and add other radio hosts who have been denied access, especially local radio hosts who serve as the heartbeat of our country. And we will add additional outlets and reporters who are well suited to cover the news of the day and ask substantive questions of the President of the United States, depending on the news he is making on that given day.
And this is what they're mad about. This is what, oh, this is a threat to democracy. Oh my God, this is not giving the will back to the people. Who's closer to the will of the people? These news anchors on these big corporate press corps, or someone who's doing a radio show, radio talk show, podcast. These people, they get constant feedback from their audience. While you can make the argument with corporate press, they get no feedback from their audience. They don't even know what their audience are thinking. They're just like, hey, we're just gonna broadcast our message. We're just gonna talk in a bubble, in a chamber insulated from the views or opinions of our audience. And this is how a lot of these corporate press people, these journalists, these reporters, they look so out of touch because they don't get any feedback from their audience. And then they wonder why they're losing viewership. They wonder why they can't compete with online. The main reason why the press corps is struggling to compete with online content creators is because of the fact that content creators has an advantage that the press corps is too big to notice. Is the fact that we interact with our audience, whether we want to or not. We get notifications every time you comment on our videos, and we have an opportunity to get feedback directly from our audience. Hell, we can even get suggestions from our audience that makes our content more better, and the audience feel a part of something. And I think that's one of the main reasons why many people rather get their news. Even me, I don't go on news websites anymore. Most of the time, I go on X, I find out about a story, then I go find the news thing. And I think that's how many people are disseminating their information moving forward. I digress. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be interested to hear what you guys are thinking, how you guys are reacting to this move by the White House press corps. Do you believe that this is a good move, bad move? I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video. Share this video if you feel so inclined, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.